up, y'all? How y'all doing? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Shoot, let me bring my first fellow partner up to the stage, Mr. HJ himself. How you doing, sir? You looking good?
I'm great, brother. How you feeling?
Good, good, good. I can hear you real good. Everything's doing all right. I'm appreciative to see you. I'm over here trying to do double duty while I'm sitting here working the technical stuff of this until my buddy LJ gets on here. We'll see what's happening. We also got my man Notarius in the house. Is Notarius, you available? Oh, he's asleep again. He's asleep.
No,
Hold
I
on.
ain't. I'm right
Oh,
here.
my man, there you are.
I'm in my car. It's dark.
We can barely see you, man. You know, it gets dark at about 3:30 p.m. That's how that
Man,
works.
I'm in Upper Arlington, man. These folks down here don't have no street lights. There ain't
Man,
no
you get
black folks
any of
down
them come
here.
outside, it'll be bright because a lot of them are, you
Nah,
know what, I'm gonna stop talking
nah,
like that.
no, nah. What they need is some brothers to move down in here, and that's gonna chase all these white men to the board, the directors, and then they're gonna build some street lights up in here that's gonna light up the scene so they can see where we at when they women float.
Oh,
Well, man, hey, if you can get some, I see you got a little bit of light on you. You got a little bit of light on you. We might have to just go with your avatar there for a minute. I think LJ is actually supposed to be joining us here pretty soon and stuff, but I wanted to start off everything. Henry, how's your week been going? What's your best and worst, sir?
oh man, best. Woo, best has just been, man, truly, truly, truly finding laughter in every moment.
Oh, bruh. How so?
Man, just being able to make the lemonade out of the lemons, man. Just
Yeah.
cracking up when things happen, and life brings you stress, and the kids is kidding, and the wife is wifing.
So that's
You
the
know.
best. What about the worst?
The worst is not trying to be the red bird off Angry Birds and just enjoy.
Yeah, man. No, no, I'm right with you, brother. I'm right with you. I don't like the green pigs. I don't like what they building. I'm trying not to be the red angry bird my own doggone self. I say my worst this week. The We're getting in the process of moving. We're trying to get some stuff situated, and we're moving from one complex to another. While we're kind of on the in between of things with searching for a new homestead and stuff. We're just like, well, maybe we won't try a house purchase right now and stuff. Let's just wait a minute and see what else we can kind of come up with. And while we're doing that, why don't we wait here? And this place is like they call it like an old folks home kind of community, but it's nice. It's almost like a cruise ship on the ground. I'm telling you what, these 55 plus communities ain't no joke, bro. I mean, I like kids, but I like them over there. You know what I'm talking about. So we the hardest thing about that is the wife has been extra amped up on getting everything packed up. She's dealing with the details and all that sort of thing. And it reminded me of somebody had told me, they said men and women are different. Dogs and cats are different. Warriors and gatherers, or hunters and gatherers, are different. I said, okay. So from a hunter standpoint, of which we usually are and stuff, we got one main focus. We trying to find the food, we trying to shoot the food, we trying to get the food, whatever the prey is, we trying to get it. Now the gatherers, not to say that that's a lady's job or nothing like that, that's not what it is. But if someone's gonna be out there fighting a saber-toothed tiger or something like that, it's probably gonna be us. We probably better built for that. And so we're out there hunting. The gatherers, the ladies, they're looking at the berries, the spices, the herbs and spices and all that. And they have to be detailed. Is this the right berry? Do it got the right amount of seeds on it? Is it poisonous? Is it ripe in and of itself? What does it cause? I mean, does it put you to sleep? Does it give you intestinal issues? I mean, they got to know all that stuff. So they're very detailed oriented and whatnot. So the difference with hunters and gatherers. Well, Mama has definitely been the gatherer, and she has been stressed about all the little things that has to be taken care of in the house, getting things packed and wrapping the glasses right, and do we want this, or are we giving this away, and this, that, and the other thing. And matter of fact, Henry, you've been a part of one of our moves before, and you've had, Lord knows you've had your own. So while she's at 98% capacity, I'm at like 2 capacity. Like, what's the problem? What's the issue? And once again, I understand why they market lazy boy chairs to men. Because I tell you what, if we ain't hunting, we just sitting there and getting in the way and stuff. Matter of fact, I enjoy that chair you got. Look mighty comfortable, Henry. It looked mighty comfortable and stuff. So that was the worst. Is just trying to calm her down without having her get mad at me. Because the Bible says better live in the corner of an attic than with a contentious wife. So I ain't trying to have her upset. So I'm like, is there anything you want me to do? You know what? I can go to work. I can go earn some money at work. Is there anything else you need me to do? I'll at least take out the dog. Yeah, I can empty the dishwasher. That kind of thing. And as long as you see me busy, that's my best way of not getting injured. Now, the best thing of the week, though, um, my Timu game is on fire. I'm just saying. Before the tariff starts, my Timu game has been on fire. And people have been giving me some compliments on that. So shoot, don't tell me I can't make $1 out of 15 cents. I'll make it happen. So that's where I'm at with it. I appreciate you guys listening. Notarius, best and worst, sir. Go. What you got?
Okay, let me do a test, and I'm gonna ask a question here because I'm at my shop and I just want to see something here. Okay, can you
Yes,
guys see me right now?
Barely, if at all. Barely. Let me see if I can let me see here. Hold please. Let me see. Boom. How about boom? Solo layout. Let's see if this works. All right, we can see you. Go ahead. You still there? Did I freeze up on my side?
No. Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, we can see you now.
Okay, now I'm gonna do it again and see if you can see me now.
Okay.
See what I'm doing?
Nope.
If you
Everything looks the same for me on my side.
time. Okay, great. Is everybody still here? Look like we lost the one brother.
No. Let me see if I can
Nope,
get
I'm
us
still
back on
here.
here. Here we go.
I'm still here.
Boom.
Uh,
Yep.
Best and worst.
Yeah, best and worst for the week.
Well, you already know the best. Being what we've been able to collaborate at MPSC, with one of the local DJs, and my man City News, and getting the ability to be able to pump us up over the air in promotional style to where
That's
we'll be able
very
to
good.
get more ears listening and then more eyes on our product. So I'm very geeked about that. And then even the mention of a possibly partner up with iHeartRadio to where we would end up going national, with our product that we've labored hard on. And my worst, let me see, what would be the worst? I don't know. Let's see, my Browns blew it on Monday night. And last night, all those 10 pins I kept leaving and missing on the spares that cost me some money. That's about as worse as it get. It's been, and so I
What?
mean
Hey,
that's yeah.
you've actually hit 300 a couple of times,
15
correct?
times. 15.
If
Hey,
you was
brother,
counting, it'd be 15, right? That's what we saying.
Yeah, I got 15 of them. I got 15. No, I got 15 to my record. Every bowling ball that I currently own right now all has a perfect game rolled on it.
Wow. Wow, brother. That's saying something, man. I tell you what, from a guy standpoint, hey, we like to appreciate trophies and all that. I did this, I did that. I ain't never done 300. I'm happy if I get over 120. However,
Interesting,
what's up?
but interesting thing is though is that I know folks out there that's got like 200 of them.
I know
Yeah,
you. I don't know them. And I
I
like
mean
saying, hey, I got friends that can bowl 300. I know them and they can handle it. And his most
I
famous phrase is, "I fear no man or pen."
I can honestly say that the 15 that I actually was able to finish the deal, I got probably 100 or so games where I had 11 strikes in it.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about either spare than the back 11 or strike spare the back 10, things like that. I've been able to do that. So I mean, if I had one pin to fall on those, then I would be in that 200 plateau of having perfect games. But the one thing about me is that, like I say, I don't fear. I'll tell it like this: when I'm bowling,
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, you got to step your game. You bowling," or they'd be like, "You bowling against so and so," and I look at them like, "So," and I tell them, "Look," and I always say this, and this is what pisses people off in the bowling circle with me, is that I always tell them, I don't step down to competition. I make them step up to me.
Oh snap! Come on, watch out! I fool around, get us some tattoos all the match. Don't get me started. Faith, I
Yeah,
see
I
you've
step
joined us and whatnot. You see, Mr. Notarius and Mr. Henry. You know them both. How you doing this evening, young lady?
I am doing good. How y'all doing?
Good, good. We were talking about our best and our worst for the week. Do you care to share? And before you start, hey guys, this is going to give you fair warning. Faith is going to give us a couple of questions and stuff that we can kind of go off of that might help actually entertain, but more importantly, teach, because that's what we're here to do is to kind of give back knowledge to the young ones that are willing to be like, hey, look, how could I make this easier? I got this axe sharpened so well. Well, son, there's your problem. You need to use a chainsaw. So, that kind of stuff. Either way, Faith, your best and worst, please.
I'd say probably my worst this week was having a couple car issues. Now's about the time where we have to winterize our cars, and that's currently what I'm going through with the whole blizzard we're probably going to get hit with within the next few weeks. But I would say the best thing this week is just keeping up on my to-do list. We all have crazy to-do lists and, you know, feeling pretty accomplished to get everything done. So I'd say that's about my best and worst.
Well, thank you for sharing. Let me see here. I got Notarius on mute right now while while he transfers to his next spot and what have you. But you came up with a list, and I was wondering if you could present us the first question that you think um uh the viewers would like to hear our answers on and stuff. Can you fire out the first question? Because Henry is probably the most well read out of all of us and stuff. But don't tell that Notarius. He'd be like, no, no, no. And I'm like, look, the humility just is overflowing. Please, can you give Mr. Henry the first question? I'll give Notarius the second, and I'll take the third.
Sure, yep. So the first question is, what is something that you thought would be a piece of cake when it came to raising children that actually wasn't a piece of cake?
Wow, that's an interesting one, Faith. Um, the thing that I thought would be a piece of cake, honestly, was the give advice and they would listen. That's what I thought would be a piece of cake. But my goodness gracious, was that just the whoo? When you realize that you're giving advice from your current age and your current seat in the stands to someone who you love who hasn't been through what you've been through, as they say, doesn't have as much mileage on these tires, and they just do whatever they want when they want, and you're trying to wrangle it in, and yet, course correct without being overbearing and overpowering, but at the same time being nurturing. I think I struggle with that, and even to this day, I still do.
Mm.
No, that's good, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you actually sharing that and stuff. Faith, can you repeat
Sure.
the question for Mr. Notarius?
Sure. So the question is, what is something that you thought would be a piece of cake when it came to raising a kid that it actually wasn't a piece of cake at all?
Oh man. Well, I got all boys, so that was the easiest part right there. Just having all boys, so I don't have to get shotguns to chase off other little people's sons at the
Mhm.
doorstep. Um, trying to think, what I'm trying to think. Well, it's hard. I'm just trying to think of the lifetime of me and the boys, because I think Henry hit on a lot of things there, where we're at as men and where we're trying to get them to go into manhood. Um, that part was, just a tough thing. getting them exposed to certain things out there that I didn't get exposed to, give them experience that I didn't have for them. Um, I think the what would have thought was going to be a piece of cake was, oh my God, I can't. I mean, shoot, I can't even think of anything to be truthful. I mean, I'm not acting like I raised the perfect group, but the perfect group, I mean, I feel I did a good job as a dad with where they're located at now. Because I mean, I think during the time frame, yeah, you want them to do certain things. You know, you got sons, so you want to see them. You know, they love athletics, so you want to see them play. You coach them, you teach them, you train them, which is what I did. And then, you know, and you put good hopes on them that maybe they can be that child that can take it to the level. You know, and you know, but then when they don't, you know, um, I mean, well, let me go back. Let me take a step back now because something just popped in my head. What I thought was going to be a piece of cake was having a situation like I had with my oldest son, to where me and his mom would have been able to work together for his betterment. And it was just an utter disaster of a lot of back and forth, a lot of arguing, and sometimes in front of the kids. Some of the things that I didn't want to do in front of my kids. That would be the part that I think would have been what I was hoping that would have been a piece of cake, to where we could have just had a little bit more peaceful raising of our son together. But instead, it was just like a war every time, almost every time we came in contact with each other. So that would be my answer.
Mm-mm. That's
We appreciate your honesty. Absolutely.
yeah, that's not easy. That's not easy question to ask. Faith, can you phrase it one more time for me?
Sure. So, what was something that you thought would be a piece of cake when it came to raising your children and it wasn't?
Well, I was a girl dad. So unlike Notarius and I think Henry had a mix of both. I was a girl dad, and it was easy, I thought, in the beginning and stuff. It was a good time. I had my biggest cheerleaders, even though they were, less than 2 feet tall. They were, I stick my hand back behind me when I was driving, and they put snacks and candies in my hand and stuff. They would always share and look out for me and stuff. And that was the good stuff. That was the good stuff. Walk around with them on my back like they were little Yodas from Star Wars and what have you and stuff. But that was a good thing. The What I didn't realize was going to be so hard was them growing up into being young ladies and stuff, especially through their teenage years. And there was a whole lot of growing for everybody that was involved in the household. Even the dog had to learn stuff. Everybody had to learn something. And but what I thought was kind of cool was um, they were as patient with me as they could be. They were still wildcats and that sort of thing, but they were as patient with me as they could be, and really started to see that that I was human, that I was a person, that I had feelings, that I wasn't the strongest, or I'll fight the world. And I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on, understand, we're in a marathon, not a sprint. Please don't put me in a situation where I got to get shot because I'm going off half cocked because of what I'm thinking is, and all that sort of thing. And the beautiful thing about that was they used a lot of wisdom, and as they sat back and watched how I handled things with their mother. Not that it was always perfect. No, they saw a real deal. I mean, you talk about a unstoppable force meets an immovable object, boy. Nothing. It was a lot to learn on all fronts and stuff. But it was difficult, but it's cool sometimes when you got to earn your stripes and go from there, because now on the backside of my girls being in their mid to late 20s, it's cool because uh, shoot, they fight for me even when I'm not paying attention and stuff, and they look out for me. And I'd like to think that's because I didn't ask for so much of their snacks when I had, had the chance to. So either way, I love being a girl dad, and I was just explaining it, to bring this plane in for a landing. I was just explaining that on a interview that I had the other day. They said, why do you think you're good with speaking with people? We see how you handle yourself, we see how you carry yourself, and how you're able to neutralize situations or what have you. Why do you think that is? And I said, hashtag girl dad. I mean, you can't bust a girl in the head. You can't do all that. You got to talk to them. You can't scare them. You can't you can't get them super angry and stuff. Otherwise, they're gonna go supernova, and then everything, the whole earth is scorched, and you don't want none of that and stuff. So you really have to learn how to communicate in a way that gets the point across, and a lot of that has to do with not only comedy from one side, but also being vulnerable on the other. So I think really I learned more from raising my girls than in a lot of ways than they learned from me in those early years. So I don't know. Does that kind of answer that question?
That definitely does. Thank you for sharing.
Yep, yep.
If y'all are ready, I'm gonna go ahead and explain this next question. So there's a term out right now called crash out that just means like getting super angry. So with this, the next question, and we'll go ahead and we'll start with you, Mr. Henry, go to Notarius, go back to you, Mr. Phil. But the second question is, what is something that one of your kids did to absolutely make you crash out?
Oh man. Um, so I'm usually mild mannered, like super peaceful, super chill. As you can tell by my recliner, this is kind of like explains my demeanor. Um, but one night, one of my daughters went to a sleepover, which she snuck out the sleepover, and her friends went to a party, which turned out to be it was just a whole night of continually bad decisions. Um, so she eventually called us, so we went and got her. And I thought I was gonna be calm and chill, and like it was gonna be like, all right, But I just crashed out. Like I just couldn't believe the litany of choices, and it started with one lie that led to another, that led to another, that led to another. And as much as I tried to remain calm and chill, like she's in the car, everything's good, we can deal with everything, no one's hurt. I just couldn't. It just got to me. As the more she talked, the more I was like, what in the world is going on right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, yeah.
Notarius, can you think of a time when
Oh, yeah.
when one of your kids made you absolutely crash out?
As you asked that question, the moment popped up. Emiliano, my middle son, he was in middle school and he decided to play a prank. And the prank was to put a liquid laxative in a water bottle for this girl. And now the child wouldn't hurt my fly. And I said, this is an adult laxative. Anyway, he got caught, and I think one of his buddies snitched on him. And so I was like, okay. His mom called me at work, and she was crying. So when you hear the mother of your child crying on the phone, you know something had happened.
Yep.
So I'm thinking the worst. And then when she told me what happened, I said, okay, where are you at? She was over at St. Matthias. And because at the time he was at St. James the Less. And for folks who don't know, St. James feeds into the sales. And for him being a soccer player, I'm like, that's a great program to fall into because they got the resources to make him a better player. Anyway, I met up with her over there, and I thought I was going to be calm until I got out the car. By the time my foot hit the pavement, I was already gone. I was already, and I remember he got in too close, and I told him, I said, son, back up. Because right now, if I put my hands on you right now, by the time I'm done, you're going to either be fully black or fully Spanish. Because I'm going to beat one of them out of you. I was really that hot because it was just a dumb decision. And it's like, what
Mhm.
was you thinking to think that that would have been funny? Not to mention that this is a young preteen little girl who you would give that type of stuff, and you could mess her intestinal scene up all day long.
Yeah.
So that ain't nothing you play with. And
Yeah.
and I remember everything that transpired on it because he was playing soccer when I handed down the sentence. I told him, I said, okay, your season, your soccer season, traveling league is over. Season's done.
Yeah.
No Xbox, put it away, it's done. No phone, put it away, it's done. You would have take, and I told him like this, I said, you'd have take your ass to school and go straight the hell home. And you better house better be military in your mama's house. It's gonna be
Right.
military in my house when you come on the weekends. Oh, I told him, you're gonna serve this punishment all the way up to June. I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
You know, basically snatched anything and everything from him on that one. I mean, because it's basically the harm of what it could have caused, and not to mention what it did cost him as an athlete. Because he had a good high school career, yes, but you could have had a better one, and that
Yeah.
decision will still haunt him. And so, oh my God, I was so fired up. I wasn't, and the thing is, I wasn't even that mad at him on this one than I was when he threw that lock at that little boy, at this one boy that was in his grade that always kept touching. And my son, for those who see my son, he's a pretty boy, half me, half Spanish, pretty boy. Yeah, one of those ones like if he ain't down with you, don't touch me even if you're trying to get my attention. But this kid kept pestering, and he took the lock and threw it at me. And I told him the worst thing you could have did in that situation was do what you did. You would have been better off telling him no like you did, and if he did it again, slap the taste out of his mouth and call it a day.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just that old school. But when it came to that laxative, we're traveling, going to pick up his older brother, who lived up in. Had to pick him up in Lima. He's sitting there with that look on his face, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" Well, I'm with my friends, and I'm like, "Well," and I spoke candid. I was like, "Well, whose fucking fault is that? He told you to do what you did.
Yeah.
That's one of the dumbest thing you could have done, son, and you smarter than that." And I told him, I said, and the reason why your dad is angry because, like I told you before, when you started school, you're not gonna disrespect my daddy's name.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
respect. You're gonna respect the blood.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do stuff like that, then people look at us like we don't know how to raise you.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's how parents can't act anymore.
Yeah.
They letting their kids just disrespect their name. And as a school bus driver, when we see how kids act, we know they got to get it from somewhere. And 9 times out of 10, it comes at home. That moment, when as soon as faith, before you even got done putting that question out there, that popped into my head immediately
Mm.
with him, because he's the one that's so much like me that he had that incident. I had to go to court for him with the lock incident and then that incident in soccer. My oldest son, not as much that I can think of with him. He's always been the cool, calm, Culpepper of it all. But yeah, that incident right there, all day, every day.
Thanks for sharing the
Yes.
Terry.
Sound like
Uh,
you was definitely upset. You was definitely upset. Faith, read back the question to me one more time so I can make sure I answer it correctly.
So the question was, can you think of a time that you were dealing with your child and they absolutely made you crash out? Crash out means to absolutely just you're blindly angry at the situation at hand.
Okay. I think I got it. All right. Uh, I had the chance to be a father figure, not just to my daughters, but also my nieces and nephews at different times. And as I was thinking about that question, I was like, I can't really remember a time that I was super super angry um, with my girls. Now, um, there's times I was frustrated, little things like, hey, whatever you do, you have the privilege of driving the vehicle. Usually they had a big black truck that they drove and whatnot. I was like, you have the privilege of driving the vehicle, but because we haven't really gone over it and whatnot, don't back the truck into the garage. And yeah, I got this, Dad. And next thing you know, we had a washer and dryer sitting in there, and the truck got backed into the garage, and the washer and dryer got backed into the drywall of the garage. And I'm just like, Lord Jesus, help us. What are we? Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. But I wasn't mad. I was more just like, frustrated and stuff. Um, I remember one time, um, uh, I had a situation where I was talking to one of them, and um, girls are different because they likes their phones, they likes their things and all that stuff. And this is mine, and I bought it, and all that kind of sort of thing. And I was talking and trying to get a point across, and it just wasn't. I needed to just take a step back. That was what. And let me see here. Hindsight being 2020, I should have just took a step back and just approached it later and stuff. But instead, we were in the car, and uh, she's talking to me, and I'm trying to get things situated. And long story short, this is my phone. I do what I want with it. I said, let me see that phone. I took that phone and hunked it right out the window. And I was just like, after I did it, I said, that is not the right way to handle that. That is a way to pour gasoline on the fire, and that is not how to handle that. Now, sometimes, we all get caught up in our different emotions and responses and whatnot. But I learned a valuable lesson that day. Not really because my daughter, hung it over my head. As soon as I did it, I'm like, that's not the right way to do it. And honestly, it's kind of a blur what happened after that. I like to think that I apologized. And, after we kind of cooled down, I was like, I'm sorry, and made some way to get it situated. However, still, um, making sure there was a respect for whatever it was that we were talking about at that time. But again, that wasn't even super, super hot. The super hot situation, I had one of my nephews staying with me, and we had gone out of town, and he's a teenager, and he was supposed to be. He had a certain plan of how he was supposed to handle things and what he was supposed to be doing, and he was on punishment. And unfortunately, my man's didn't, he like, I do what I want to do. And in a situation where my father would call that um, having alligator jaws. And then he would say, don't let your alligator jaws get your mosquito behind beat. I was like, So when Major Strickland said that, because I'd be minor Strickland, but when Major Strickland said that, boy, you listen to it. But anyway, my nephew was supposed to stay around the house, just go do his practices, go to his whatever games he had going on, and then from there he was supposed to go ahead and handle schoolwork and all that sort of thing. Well, he wanted to go and be a part of his girlfriend's dance or something that she was going to, homecoming something. And the problem was he hadn't done what he needed to do. So I'm like, you in control of your freedom, but you got to get this stuff done so you can do that. And most times who knows what it was. I'm very smart, so I don't think it was homework. I think it was more just being smart mouth, if you will. And as a father, I'm trying to do the best I can what I got. But he decided to go anyway. Like, what's Uncle Phil gonna do? He ain't here. I do what I want. What's he gonna do? And I tell you what, when I was so upset that I think by the time I got home, what wound up happening? Ain't nobody putting no hands on nobody. Wasn't nobody praying for nobody. Let's just say wasn't nobody praying for nobody from the standpoint of putting hands on somebody. Wasn't nobody doing none of that and stuff. But it was like, hey, look, you know what? You grown. All right. I tell you what's gonna happen. We're gonna go ahead and get you on back over to your mama. Here's your bus ticket. Here it is. Go on, hop on that bus and get on where you gotta get going. Why? Because listen, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And with all that being said, um, we did wind up, sending him back. He's like, "What?" I gave him his jacket. One of my buddies drove with us, and we dropped him off at the bus station in the next city up, and called the family. Said, "Hey, he'll be there. So somebody go pick him up because he ain't staying here because he think he the boss, and he is not the boss. There's no bills he's paying. There's no social security numbers that he got his name on. This is what's happening here." And although it was a little unconventional, it seemed to get the point across and stuff. I think that was about it. But that was more of a hey, I need you to pay attention to who's the boss. You know, with all that power comes responsibility, and that's kind of what was going on. So that'd be my answer for that. Hopefully that makes sense, Faithy.
It sure does. So I'm going to go ahead and have us jump to the next question. We're
Okay.
going to change up the order a little bit. Go Henry, Mr. Phil, then we'll go to Notarius. But the next question is, thinking back to before you were a father, did you think you would be the cool dad or the strict dad? And what were you actually?
Is this question for me, Faithy?
This question will be, we'll go Henry, Notarius, then back to you. But the
Okay.
question is, thinking back to before you were a dad, Notarius, hopefully you can hear me. Thinking back to before you were a dad, did you think you would be the cool dad or the strict dad? And what dad did you actually become?
Oh man, I thought I was gonna be the super cool dad. I had motorcycles. I was, living life. I had some swag, and even that wasn't a word back then. I had swag. So I thought I was gonna be the super cool dad. I'm young. I was like, I consider myself trendy. Um, and then I had kids, and I was just like that commercial. I turned right into my dad. Um, you know, telling folks what they gonna do, what they not gonna do, getting angry that the Pop Tart was still on the counter. Um, all the things that I thought I wasn't gonna be. I ain't become cool again until they got to high school. Then I was like, all right, I got my swag back. But man, K through 8, they took all my swag.
Thanks for that answer. Thank you. Notarius, what about you? Did you think you was
Mr.
going to be the cool dad or the strict dad? And then what did you become?
First, I want to start off with Mr. Swag. Me, so I knew I was going to be the tough dad. I knew when I had kids, especially when I had boys, I knew how I was going to be with them. I knew I was going to be the disciplinary dad, strict dad, and I actually was. I really was. And like Henry said, we turn into our parents. We start saying things that our parents said to us. Like we say things like, if your friends jump off a bridge, you gonna do it too. We had all those things that we heard in the past from our parents. We heard, with our kids. I said it with my kids, and I mean, I can't believe some of the stuff that I was saying to my kids. Now, the one thing I always told my boys is that I will never be your friend, but I will forever be your father. There's a difference. Okay, I will forever be your father. It's going to be a love hate, but more love than hate in the relationship. And
Yes.
so they understood it, and I made sure it fed to them over and over again in their lifetimes, to all the way into now. Now, just like with Henry, yeah, as we got older, it was a little bit different because they starting to do different things, and then once they hit them teenage years, okay, now we really on to something because now they're looking at girls, and so I knew they turned the corner that day when I was at my old condo. They were still in bed, just watching TV. I didn't look in to see what they was watching. I just was listening. I just happened to be listening as I walked by. And when I heard the dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, I was like, oh, they watch the Sports Center. So they now had graduated from Dora the Explorer. If y'all catch where I'm at. So now so when when I heard the ESPN, I was like, oh, I got my boys. Okay. And I mean, like I said, I was that dad, and I always told them, I'm gonna be tough on you. And the reason why I'm gonna be tough on you is because it's gonna make the real world a little easier for you. It's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be a little easier because of how you were raised through me and being tough and strict on you, because the world ain't gonna give you nothing. You gotta work hard for it. And I
Mm-hmm.
always preach to him that anything less than 100% effort is unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And you apply that to your academics, you apply that to your athletics, and it'll fall into life. Anything less than 100% effort is unacceptable. And that's the things that I preached to him. And I was the straight disciplinarian. I only had to dish out one whooping on my oldest one. And then I stopped that when I realized he was autistic.
Mhm.
And it didn't stop certain things, but it just slowed it. It ceased, and I went in a different direction as far as how I was handling him whenever he needed any discipline. But my oldest son, he got a little bit of the same treatment like his younger brother did, but I just handled it differently.
Mhm.
He got busted for sexting. You heard me right,
Uh-oh.
sexting.
Uh-oh.
He wanted to see that he wanted this girl. He was in middle school. He's a teenager. He wanted to see this girl's chest, bare chest.
Mm.
And his mom, apparently, she was spying his phone. She caught it. Now, this is where Henry is when he talk about swag in a sense, or that coolness. Because on the way home, because I picked him up, we had an hour and a half to go before I got back to Columbus from where I picked him up at. So I went in my phone. So you trying to see naked women, huh, son? And yeah. I said, don't hold your head down, boy. Hold your head up. I said, here's my phone. Take a peek. I had a ton of pictures in there for him. Here you go. Here's white, here's black, here's Asian. Here's red hair, here's blonde, here's brunette. Here's small breast, big breast. I mean, the whole list of everything. Here you go. But guess what? You can see that for free. You don't ask no girl like that over the phone because you're going to get up right where you at with being on
Mhm.
punishment. So, I mean, I did a lot of things just kind of like out of the ordinary. But when I look back on it, I really wouldn't have changed a thing because, I mean, right now they're, grown men doing good.
Mhm.
So I always look at the final result and where they're at, like now. For those who know, Emiliano's, doing the soccer thing in school over in England, and Bryce, my oldest, making more an hour than me up at Honda, and he only 24. so, so, and then to make matters even better for him is that he'd be the one that's going to get his grandparents' property, which sits on, I think, 30 acres,
Mm.
because he's the only male offspring between
Yeah.
his mom and his aunt.
Wow.
So I look at how things turn out at the end, because it's interesting. You don't really see the things you want to see or that you hope to see at the younger ages. I think as they get older and they become grown men and women, when we see the results of how our children come up and how well off they are, then that we can look at them and feel, have some pride and say, some proudness, and say, okay, yeah, I did a good job. It may not have been textbook, but I did a good job.
It seems like they almost grow in spite of us, man. They develop
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh
become
yeah.
who they are in spite of us and stuff. So yeah, that was
Yep.
a good answer. Faith, can you give me that question one more time?
Sure. So the question is, did you think you would be the cool dad or the strict dad? And what dad did you become?
Hmm. I thought that well, Henry talking about swag, that Joker. I mean, he fresh. When I think about a guy who's got it put together and got everything situated, I think of my buddy Henry. When I think of trying to make sure a Joker knows they need to stay in their place and all that sort of thing, then I pretend like I'm Mr. Notarius, and that kind of thing. So it's just, I fear no man. That's how I feel about that. But in all seriousness, I thought that, see, now I was in the band, and we've talked about this before. All right, so I I didn't do a lot of, and then I had girls. I thought I was gonna have boys. The Lord saw fit to give me, young ladies to raise and stuff, and so I really had to um, figure out a way to communicate with them and go from there to get the point across. Um, I can't say I was cool. I think I was pretty goofy, in the beginning, especially when I met their mom and we got married and stuff, and there's been a lot of changes over the years. But as they as they grew and their mom, had their hair done and had a certain way that she wanted them to present and that sort of thing, I was more speaking to him about being polite and being considerate, yet still, and me and Henry have talked about this from a political standpoint of taking up space. Don't shrink yourself down in a situation. No, you stand up staying true, do the right thing and stuff. Your best weapon is your mind, that kind of stuff. But don't be out here using that to hurt others and stuff. So I think I was pretty practical when it came to being a father like that. Again, if it was cool or strict, I'd probably go more towards the strict side of it. But strict from the standpoint of a lot of autonomy. If my kids were listening and doing what they needed to do, I really wasn't the one to be like, you better do this, you better do that, you better do this. That wasn't my main focus. It was more, if you're doing what you need to do and you're doing it from the standpoint of one of us ain't as great as all of us, meaning you're looking out for the family as a whole, then I got you. So tell me what's up. What was your plan? What is you trying to do? I remember we had moved in this house, and we were all excited about it. It was kind of our one of our nicest homes that we ever stayed in and stuff. But we had got a pretty good deal on it. The guy who was trying to sell it, this is probably back in 2008. He the There was a housing crisis in this. They called it the bubble burst and stuff, where everyone's housing, how much it was worth, it just dropped down. A lot of people were upside down in their mortgages. They owed more than the house was worth. They owe 150, but now the house is only worth 80,000 and stuff. And so it just really made it tough for the economy in general. And what wound up happening was, we were looking at this house, and my wife had always had like a vision board of what she wanted her home to look like, and me and the girls would look at that and be like, "Oh, all right, yeah, cool. That's a good idea. That's nice, because I've always been of the mindset that, um, hey, I'll bring the house, but please, you make it a home. Not to say that she wasn't contributing, because there was a time there she was making more money than me, and I was like, "Oh, does that mean I'm a sugar daddy?" And she's like, "Don't ever say that again." I was like, "Okay." So, but as looking at that, we got in this house, and the guy was really motivated to sell it. And unfortunately, he had a tough situation. He was in the process of a divorce, and him and his ex-wife were living in two separate places. And anyway, there was no one there to really look after this home. Nice home, nice home. But the way it was set up, people could break into it. And so some kids had broke into it and just got in there and spray paint and stuff, and just being, typical little, knothead boys and stuff, and just spray painting obscene stuff and just whatever. And what winds up happening is, uh, he decides to sell us the house and stuff, but he had some insurance stuff that he had to get taken care of. Well, my one daughter, who had a very big sense of doing the right thing, and hey, that's not fair. And so, it's just like, yes, that's not fair, but a lot of times we can't force things, we have to finesse them. So easy, that sounds like too much of a weight. And so we had said, hey, although some of that stuff is obscene, don't mess with it just yet, because they're dealing with it and stuff. There's some insurance stuff, there was some criminal stuff they had to take care of, and that was part of the agreement in moving and being, getting into this house. So my one daughter decided, well, I'm going to do something for the greater good of everybody. I'm going to try to clean this stuff off and do what I got to do. And fortunately, she cleans like her mom, and which is very, very well. And I tell you what, I mean, she could get the white off her rice, I mean, but anyway, she cleaned up. And we're like, oh no, we weren't supposed to do that just yet. I had an arrangement with the previous owner and this, that, and she kind of looked, and she's in middle school or so, and it was just like, but it was just so bad. I just didn't want it. I just took it upon myself to do it. And I said, I appreciate you doing that, but these are the consequences of that, where um, we may not be able to have things go the way they need to if they don't have evidence and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of explained it out a little bit more of kind of what was happening. Not that I was trying to keep it away, but, this is what it is. And she understood and stuff, and it kind of went okay, and it was a learning moment for the whole family, that just because something in your heart or in your spirit just doesn't feel right, that doesn't necessarily mean to jump up and charge hell with a water pistol. It's just like, hold on. um cool heads
Charge hell
prevail.
with the
This is a
water.
marathon, not a sprint. Let's take a second. And
Mhm.
so going back to the idea of cool dad or strict dad, I'd say strict only if I couldn't use the word purposed. I was right there, and really everything I tried to do, I tried to be purposeful about the what and the why, and even in the explaining of it and stuff, which was a lot of times where me and their mom would kind of bump heads sometimes and stuff, and she's like, why do you take all that effort? Just tell them the answer's no, that's how we're gonna do it. And I never wanted to go that route, because my military dad, he was like, hey, I said no and it means no. How much money do we make and stuff? You don't make none, and be happy you got something to eat, that kind of thing. And although that's an answer, and that was just the parents of Gen X, that's just how it was. um I thought, I think I would do better if I actually had a better answer at that time. So I'm gonna try to do one better, and not just cause my girls to survive, but cause them to thrive in thinking of how they're looking at things and stuff. So that's I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run my mouth so much, but that was kind of the underlying of all of it. And believe it or not, that's how I always thought of all the stuff with my girls. I took a lot of time to really think, what is it that I'm trying? What's the objective here? What's the objective in having it go this way? What's the objective in this, discipline? What's the objective in, showing them this way to make money, and all that sort of thing. So that's kind of where I was. So I guess in a way, I guess strict. I tried to do it funny, but I guess strict. So I appreciate you asking that question, Faithy. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I will ask, do you all have time for two more questions? We can keep them
Yes,
short, but do
we
you all have
do.
time for two more?
If I could add one more thing in there,
Yes,
some
sir.
because Phil
Hmm.
brought up something up. This will be short. The one thing I can say, even being a strict dad, is that I always put situations in my mind to answer the boys if those questions came about. And I think my kids probably thought I was like on witchcraft mode, because they was like, "Well, how did Dad know that this was going to be so on and so forth?" Because like when you're a bus driver, and when you're driving a lot of time, when you're on the road by yourself, you just scenarios play out in your mind. So when those scenarios play out in your mind, and you just tell yourself, okay, if this was to happen, this is how I'm gonna answer. And a lot of times those things did happen, and I just had to answer like right on the money. And it was like, and they just looked at me like, man, that is the devil or something, because this man should not be knowing this stuff this quick. But it was just, it was just that with them. And I mean, and so, that's just my last 2 cents on that.
Appreciate you, Notarius. Appreciate you. Faith, you think if we can get it in let's say 8 to 10 minutes, you guys okay with that?
Yep.
All
All
right, cool.
right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with
So,
it.
second to last question. What is the best advice or lesson that you learned from your own father or father figure?
Who do you want to answer this, Faith?
So we'll go in the order of Henry, Notarius, and then back to you.
Okay, you did say that. All right.
Uh, Best advice my father gave me,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
my at our wedding. So so my dad gave me tons of advice. So growing up, my mom was the disciplinarian, so to speak, and my dad was more of the, all right, let's talk about this. Like, why'd you do it? Let's think about this. So next time you can make a better informed decision, right? So at our wedding, my father was my best man, and for his best man speech, and this tied in everything that he explained growing up. He shared the importance of dreaming and how you should never give up on your dreams, and the importance of having the tenacity and the resiliency to go after your dreams and bring them to life. And that our dreams are guide us. God places things to us in our dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said that at our wedding, it like literally summarized like wash on, wash off, like Mr. Miyagi type stuff. Like my whole upbringing of all the advice he had given me, because he had given me a litany of advice. I could sit here and give you quotes for hours. But to summarize though, it was to never give up on your dreams and to be a dreamer.
That's good. That's good. That's
That's great.
good. I appreciate you sharing that, brother.
What about you, Notarius? What advice or lesson did you learn from a father or father figure that still sticks with you today?
Um, hmm. Well, it's kind of a dark light, bright light type deal. My dad was that guy. He was like the the neighborhood section. As my mom would say, he was like the Black Clark Gable back in his prime days. He had the Mustang with the booming system, at least for the '60s. My dad was that dude, and so he wasn't always the most loyal husband. And it's things that I knew in that. But one of the things that I take away from my dad, it wasn't really the advice, because we've like Henry said, me and him had talks, and I think as we got older, I think we had some beautiful moments where the sun just spotlighted us in our conversation with each other, and it was a beautiful moment for us because my dad's gotten up there now. Anyway, one of the things I can say I learned from my dad was to, as a married man, never go to bed angry. Never go to bed angry with your
Mm.
wife. And because when I heard the question, the first thing that came to mind was that day when him and my mom got into it over something earlier in the day, and it carried over into the evening. Wasn't nothing much said at dinner, and then it was what happened when we went to bed. Now, what happened was when we went to bed was that my mom went down and boiled a big old pot of hot water. And while my dad was asleep, she brought it up and poured it on his midsection.
Mm.
And and then when I saw my mom, after my dad got up screaming, went to, jumped in the tub, cold water. My mom came in, got dressed, she got up just as calm as could be, and was like, okay, little yellow mofo, get your butt ready so I can take you to the hospital. And second-degree burns on that scene. And when I saw that, I said, wow. Um, you know, when I've had arguments with when I was having arguments with my first wife, you know, one thing my dad did tell me as we was the same, don't go to bed angry. You know why? Yeah, I know, because that image of him and that whole scene still sticks in my mind. And and he said, always learn, if you can, just walk out the house. Just go. Just walk out the house, walk down around the block, so forth. Let cool heads prevail. So I got into a habit of doing that. So it was more of just learning by what I saw. I think I could say I learned by what more than what I saw than what was spoken, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing.
Absolutely. Faith, you see that
Mm-hmm.
LJ White, welcome to the screen, brother.
What's
Can
good?
you
What's
hear
good?
us?
How y'all doing? Yeah, I
Oh,
hear you.
good, good, good.
Good.
The
We're
uh Faith, if you could ask me that question, and LJ, you're gonna have a chance to answer also.
yeah, we're down to our last two questions, but the question is, what advice or lesson have you learned from your father or a father figure in your life that has carried with you today? So we'll go ahead and go
Okay.
Mr. Phil, then we'll go LJ.
Okay.
Say that again.
Um,
What advice? What have I? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I tell you what, Faith, I appreciate you working with us because we all old and we be like, huh? What you say? What you say? Because now we're the dads. My dad, um, I think what I learned from him was I always saw him, for the most part, being gentle with my mom. And my mom, could be a wildcat in and of herself. And although she was always very responsible from what I could see, he would have to be deployed through being in the military because I was a military brat. I was oldest of three and stuff. But as I watched him, um, this big man, this former Ohio State football player, and uh, one of the black officers in the Marines and helicopter and pilot and all kind of different things. And so he was like well decorated, but regardless of all that stuff, he always really looked out for my mom. Now, don't get me wrong, she would be like, "Why don't we go out and do this?" I don't want to do that. That was kind of his thing, and he'd be like, "The answer's, no, I'm not doing that. You can do what you want, but I ain't doing it." And I always thought that was kind of tough. Even when we would ask him questions, usually his first answer was no. Hey dad, we got all our chores done, all our homework's done, everything's set. Can we have such and such spend a night? Nah, but dad, don't ask me. And I'm just like, dang, and it would just frustrate us so much. And I remember my mom brought it up to my dad a couple times, and he explained it like this. He's like, "Look here, Denise, if they can learn to hear no from me and somehow get me to say yes, then pretty much, hey, they can hear it from anybody and not have it break them down to where they're like, oh, I give up. The world's their oyster. Because if they can get me to say yes, they can get anybody to say yes. It's kind of like that. And so in that way, it made us a lot tougher. I was the one that kind of had to bear the brunt of that way of thinking to begin with as the eldest. Um, but from a practical standpoint and a point that I love when it comes to my wife and Cassandra and mother of my children and stuff, no matter what she's feeling or what she's got going on, I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. I don't care. Once the dust settles and whatnot, then I'm standing right here. You could be mad and put a cape on and be super mad. I'm still gonna be standing right here and stuff because you mine, I'm yours. What's up? Unless you got somebody else that you feel is gonna love you better than me, you know, let me know because I'll stand right back. But otherwise, I'm right here and I'm gonna do what I need to do as best I can. And although there's times when she's like, you know what, number 20, I'm writing up these divorce paperwork right now, number 20, and all that stuff. But for the most part, she's like, why do you do that? And I'm like, my dad always did that. He always looked out for my mom no matter what, even though she'd be as aggravated as all get out with hair on fire and everything and stuff. But he didn't care. He's like, that's my woman. That's the mother of my children. That's who I love. That's how it's going to be. So I think that's what I learned from my dad. And I just don't really see it any other way from that standpoint when it comes to me. So there you have it.
Thanks for sharing. I'll go ahead and repeat the question for you, LJ. But the question is, what was the best advice or lesson that you learned from your father or father figure that still sticks with you today?
I'm glad you asked that question the way that you asked it, father or father figure.
Mhm.
And I'm proud to see that every man on here will. I'm not certain about my man's right there, but I know for a fact Phil and the Terriers had their fathers. I had my father,
Mhm.
and it's important to understand one that you have to have a father in your life, and the beautiful thing about this dynamic right now is that every black man on here has had their father in their life, which kind of speaks against the narrative
Yeah.
that we don't.
Let's start
It
talking.
speaks against the narrative that we don't, that black men aren't good dads and that they don't step up and stuff like that. So I just want to address that. You know what I'm saying? That's a congratulatory thing because a lot of people don't see that we do have our fathers. This is not the majority. It's that minority that makes it look bad. So I just
Mhm.
want to address that real quick. And with that being said, I learned a lot of things from my father, good and bad. Everything was a lesson with my dad. I learned not to procrastinate because sometimes my dad was a procrastinator, and I watched how it affected him. I learned not to get so hot headed because my dad was a hot head, and I watched how that affected him. But um, not just I just want to speak on those negative things because sometimes people don't look at that as lessons that you can learn. But I'll say the most positive thing that I've learned from my father, though, and I was just speaking to someone else about this because of mental health and how it affects us as Black people because uh, Black people have been traumatized in this country for a long time, and we've been always taught not to deal with our emotions, to control our emotions. Control yourself, or someone's going to control you. Blah blah blah. This, that, and the other. While everybody else has been able to seek out, refuge and a way to cope. We've always been taught not to do that, to keep things in, hold ourselves accountable, hold in our emotions, don't lash out, things of that nature. But one thing that I always witnessed my dad do was deal with his emotions. And one thing my dad taught me was, I want to teach you how to deal with your emotions, not to be emotionless. And we teach men, we have this thing, especially in the Black community, where we teach men to be emotionless. That's what we really train them for. We could let the woman can be whatever she wants, and she could cry and hurt, but we're taught, no, that's not what a man does, and blah 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 blah. Whatever. I've seen my dad cry. I've actually witnessed my dad cry. My dad told me he loved me every day. He hugged me as much as he could. He was very playful. He would call me names. What one name that stands out, I always pick on my son with this one is, my dad always called me Monkey Bill, and I used to hate that. Monkey Bill, like, man, dude, stop, and they would just joke and play and be goofy, but my dad always was able to be whatever emotion he was. Like I said, learned not to be a hothead because my dad was hot headed. But one thing that showed me with my dad was that he allowed his anger to fulfill itself. Because if you know anything about combustion or explosives, an explosive is a contained action, and it's created that way so that once it does, when it's bouncing around that small area, because it's built up, then it proliferates and everything goes with it. Whatever happens in that area, that vicinity, it goes with it. I know my man Notarius was in the military, so he totally understand what I'm talking about. When
Mhm.
things combust, they explode, and whatever's in that vicinity, it gets it. So when you don't control your anger, and you don't, or you control your anger too much, what I'm saying? People, it builds up, and that one little small thing that might have made you mad a long time ago, compiled with everything else that you've been holding in. All it takes is that little straw, and bam! Now you going off for no reason. Nobody knows what's going on and stuff. But my dad was always able, and my mom as well. My mom was always telling me, "Don't bite your tongue because it hurts."
Mm.
He said, "Don't bite the tongue because it hurt." You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna have a bloody mouth while somebody else walking around here, mouth all clean. And I never understood that until I got a little bit older. And basically, what she was saying was, don't hold don't hold back what you have to say. Just learn how to say it. It's a way
Mhm.
to convey it without. One thing me and my wife always talk about is we cuss people out with policy. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll talk about people at our jobs and stuff, but there's policies and procedures, and there's ways you can do things. Like me, I'm gonna tell you no. But at my job, if you're trained and you know a certain job or whatever, and you tell them no, um, and they want to, they call it insubordination, or you refusing work, this, that, and the other. There's ways I can refuse work, and one way I can tell you HELL no is I don't feel like that's the safe action. With that, they can't say nothing to you. Basically, I just cut you out and told you, no, I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? It, Again, we got to learn ways to tell people,
That's
and
good.
but we still got to get it out. We got to get it out. Don't let it build up,
Mhm.
because you'll explode. And the one thing my dad always taught me was, is not control your emotions. It's know your emotions and know how to operate them. No one's Sometimes you can't control an emotion, but you can control yourself. If you need to remove yourself from a setting so you could cry, or so you could yell and scream and get that out, do that if you have to, but do it. You know what I'm saying? Let
That's good.
be We gotta stop teaching our men that we don't fit, that we shouldn't feel anything. You know what I'm saying? That we shouldn't because we do, and that's what happens. That's why we got so many, murders in our community, so many killings, so much violence and things like that, because we have not taught the men that not only do you have emotions, but what to do with those emotions. Because when it comes to denial, you can't teach somebody if they're denying the situation. You can't tell them how to do it if they're denying that is even happening.
Mhm.
So with that being
Mhm.
said, my dad was a very loving, strong man. You know what I'm saying? But he let me know every day, son, um, and it's weird because now that I think about it, this is funny. Now that I think about it, uh, growing up, and I know y'all know me, so y'all, this might shock y'all because I act totally opposite. But I did grow up in a very um Christian, Jesus, God fearing household. It's just we taught, my mom and dad taught me a different kind of God than what most people do. And they taught me that, hey, be you, because God knew you before He created you. So whatever you doing now, He knew you was gonna do it. So don't not be yourself. Just make sure that you try to be the best you that He wants you to be. And you gotta have that communication with God, and that, and I know a lot of people don't know how that works, but you do gotta have that communication with God, and gotta tell you what He needs to tell you so you can get better. So with that being said, it's funny, the point I'm trying to make is, it's funny because as I was growing up, when we would sit at the table, my dad assigned everyone a scripture that we would read before we eat. And I thought it because I was the youngest and probably not the brightest, which I actually wound up being the smartest one in the family. But I mean, I'm thinking it's because I'm the youngest, maybe not the brightest. Why did you give me this verse? And my verse was Jesus wept, the shortest verse in the Bible.
Mhm.
I never understood that. Like maybe you didn't think I could handle more than that. Like what? Why was that mine? And as I learned later on, he was basically giving me a scripture that denotated, who part of who Jesus was, and somebody that we as in the black community don't get to know very much, and that was the emotional side of Jesus.
Mm.
We know about the Jesus that taught and healed. We know about the Jesus that performed miracles. We even know about the angry Jesus that grabbed the whips and overturned the money changers tables and whooped everybody out the church. But we don't know about the Jesus that that had a hard time with what he was doing. Uh, it,
Mhm.
he looked at people and hurt, and hurt because of the situations people was going through and stuff. And he broke down and just cried.
Dang it. You preaching it,
He broke
LJ.
down and he broke down and cried. Sometimes, man, we gotta break down and cry. Sometimes we need people that we can cry to, man. Maybe one day
Mhm.
I might have to come to y'all and cry to y'all.
Mhm.
I just had this conversation with a friend because he wanted us to do something for pre New Year's, and he set the date for the 28th. And I told him, I'm like, okay, I'll be there, but don't trip if I'm like in my emotions, if I just start breaking up, if I start crying or anything. He said, if you feel that way, then why come? I said, because I'm your friend and I want to be there. I just don't want nobody to freak out and think something's wrong with me.
Mhm.
He's like, why do you say that? I said, because you know that that's the day my mother passed, right? So I'm gonna have an issue with that. He was like, well,
Mhm.
just don't come. Like, no. I was like, no, I'm gonna come
Mhm.
because I still have to live. I still have to move on. Just because my mother passed on me, I just stop everything I do and halt and whatever. But I just want you to know beforehand, don't think that I'm just, if I get, move off to and get into a separate location and deal with things by myself, um, that I'm happy that something's wrong or whatever. I just want you to understand, just or if anybody else asks, hey, he's dealing with something right now, just let him do his thing. He'll be right back or whatever. But yeah, I'm one of them type of men that hey, you can call me soft, you can call me punk, you can call me whatever. But what you're not gonna call me is you're not gonna call the police because I done went off on somebody and killed somebody because I couldn't control myself. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what you're not gonna do. And I think we need this. What we need to do, I like this legendary men's podcast and whatever. What we need to start doing as black people, black men, whoever, we need to start embracing our black men more and teach them, hey man, if you got an issue, come talk to me about it. If you ever need to cry, man, don't it's not soft. You know, soft to me, a punk is a person that don't know how to deal with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that got I'm a punish you because of the way I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we
Mm-hmm.
tend to do. We tend to punish other people because we don't know how to deal with ourselves and our emotions. So somebody, we the type of people, yeah, somebody pissed me off today. They gonna get it. Why?
Mm-hmm.
No, no, no. Why don't you pull yourself to the side and deal with
Yeah,
you? You don't have to do that with somebody else.
we can
Or,
do
or let
better.
somebody or let somebody know that you can trust and they'll be like, hey, leave him alone right now. Let he dealing with some things. Give him a moment to, rationalize, and then he'll be back. We need to start hugging each other more, showing each other, hey, I love you, brother. Things like
Mm-hmm.
that because it does mean something, man. And when you put that love out there, man, that love permeates. It goes through the universe and then it comes back. You know what I'm saying? And it just keeps on growing. Love can conquer a lot of stuff, man. But we got to really learn how to be who we are, and sometimes we got to learn how to deal with the emotion part of us. We are everything. We are flesh. We are blood. We're air because we breathe breath, but we are also what we feel and our emotions. You know what I'm saying? We're our thoughts. So
LJ,
that's what I
LJ,
learned from my.
man, no, I appreciate you, bro. This brother, he preaching it. Obviously, LJ was gonna be a Baptist preacher, gonna keep us there till 4 p.m. But it's still all good. So
I'm done.
I'll
I'm
take it.
done.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I think this might be with this whole way that we're trying to do this. A lot of what this is kind of a attempt to objectively deal with, like, mental health, the health of our mentality as black men, black folks in general, but black men specifically. And man, I appreciate you sharing that, because Lord knows sometimes it do get tough. It do get tough. I appreciate each and every one of you this evening. Big ups to our questionnaire moderator there, Miss Faith. If y'all could give it up for her right quick. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Faith.
Legendary
We
woman.
appreciate you. Taking care of business, taking care of business. And Notarius, a partner in crime, and also the one that we saw one of his old bus driver kids earlier today at another podcast, and he was like, "Mr. Terriers didn't play." I was like, "Yeah, I bet he didn't. I bet he didn't." Look, he done already jumped off. He don't want to be exposed and stuff. Mr. Henry, thank you. You look like you have the most important chair in the whole conversation, and I wish I had that one to sit into, because, well, Christmas is coming up, so keep that in mind. LJ, I'm glad you still made it on at the end and stuff. I gotta make sure I get those links out there better and stuff. We will be meeting again next month. Thank you all. This has been a production with MPSC Entertainment. Not only do we do comedy, but we also do real talk. HJ's Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's what we're talking about here. Hey, we'll talk to you all later. You guys, thank you. Enjoy your evenings. We'll talk next time.
Dude.